Did that like a month ago or something. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Bill. How are you,
That may
sir?
that may have been on air.
Yeah, might have been on air.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Always
How
dealing with
long?
tech issues.
How long is tech supposed to stay connected? Is really the question we're asking ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, because it feels like we keep having to reconnect stuff, and particularly LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn's pretty prickly about their permissions, which
Of course they are.
on one side is not a bad thing, um, but when you're
Yeah.
trying to run tech to it, it can be annoying.
The first part of that sentence is the important part, right?
Yes,
On some levels, that's not a
yeah,
bad thing,
I'm very
right?
happy on some levels about that.
Yeah. And then on other levels, they're just standing in the way for no really great reason.
Yeah, like, we're Microsoft. You
Yeah.
like things, so we. Blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. This is the human network or something like that. We don't allow we don't allow you to use any automations except the ones that we give you. Damn
Right,
it.
right, exactly. Because they're ours.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Yeah,
Pay us $80 a month and you can have an autoresponder. But if you don't pay us, don't use an autoresponder.
that's right. It's wrong. It's sick and it's wrong.
Yeah. Good morning, Mike Tao.
Happy
Good morning, Michelle.
Monday.
Yes.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Michelle. So, what'd you do this weekend, Mr. Hill?
Let's see. Saturday, I went and hung out with Dan Bennett, talked about some video stuff. He's going through a cohort launch right now, right? So he's doing a bunch of rebranding, getting all of his stuff together. His new site looks so good, man. Like he's found the way, he's found the ability of showing the beginning and ending phase, right? Which it's video, so it shouldn't be that hard. But like if you scroll down this page, it shows the same guy before working with Dan and then after working with Dan. It doesn't even look like the same guy, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
like better lighting, looking and sounding good and everything. And it is I'm in love with this like marketing exercise of just how clearly he shows this is where you start, this is where you finish. Do you want it or not? Like it is inarguable that Dan helps you, and it's just so clear. Like I'm so impressed with it. So he's launching a cohort about that, and just kind of talking about what he's working on. I got the video back from the SaaStr interviews. It's 2 hours long, even with all the cuts in it. So it's like way too long, but holy crap, it looks amazing. I'm so excited about it. So Dan and I were talking about some strategies for that, about how to, do we break it up? Do we keep it this big whole feature length film? Like, what are we going to do with it? Nobody watches feature length films, so we're going to be breaking it up into like much smaller pieces. So
yeah.
that was huge and validating and exciting. And then Sunday, my newest client, Sean, is a jiu-jitsu guy. And so he was competing at an event. And so I went and watched him yesterday morning. So he won first place in his bracket for no gi and got third for gi, which is pretty solid. He's only been competing for a couple of years.
That's cool. That's fun.
Yeah.
Where was it locally? Like just a gym?
Duncanville.
Okay, but it was at
Yeah.
a gym, or was it like an event?
No, DFW is such a hotspot for jujitsu that they will like rent out these bigger like sport event places, right? So the
Okay.
place that this was at was called the Field House out in Duncanville, and it's like a huge sports area and stuff like that. So it was rad. Some very, very cool people, like some people who I knew from my jujitsu journey were there and stuff like that. So it was interesting. It was cool.
That's very cool. That's
Yeah.
fun. Yep, I remember those days. Watching martial arts in a gym.
There was this guy there. It's funny that Michelle's watching this morning. There is this guy there who looked so much like Jay's husband, so much, but younger in the jiu-jitsu version, right? Because Jay's a kung fu guy, Michelle's husband, and that's where we met. But this guy had the big dorky glasses. He kind of had that kind of small frame and that kind of like aw shucks, like I'll crush you kind of like vibe to him. Reminded me of Michelle's husband like instantaneously. I was like, "Oh my god, this is Jay if he was cool."
Nice, nice. If he wasn't one of those offshore guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice, very cool.
So yeah, so that was good. There were two 311 streams this weekend, so like the family and I watched that on Saturday and Sunday evening. They're playing these albums of theirs like front to back. So this album was the Blue album with Down and all the big songs that lots of people know on it on one night, and the next night was this other album called Transistor, which is a super great album that they don't play a lot of songs off of. It was awesome.
That's very cool. I think it's actually really interesting that they're continuing to do this with the streaming stuff, because a lot of bands just got out back on the road and didn't
Yeah,
really it's like back to normal, if you would. And then there's
yeah,
other bands like 311 that are still either doing hybrids, or sounds like, are they on the road too?
yeah, yeah. They
Okay.
were in. So they're wrapping up a tour. So the first, because they did this a couple of weeks ago, they did the first two albums that they released, and they were playing a New York venue. This weekend they were in Chicago, right? And then in a couple of weeks they're going to do two more albums from LA. I was going to try to go to the LA shows and take Alice, but it just didn't really work out logistically. So
Yeah.
not doing that, which is a bit of a bummer because Peanut, who's the bass player, is taking a break from the band here coming up pretty soon. So I'm not really sure exactly what that means, but I was going to try to get Alice to a show before that hiatus, but I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately.
Yes, logistics. I was actually trying to get Scarlett, because she loves Harry Styles, and
Mhm.
to get to an LA concert actually this past Tuesday, and just couldn't make it work. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's disappointing because you're like, oh, we could do this. We're adults. We can
Yes.
just like hop on a
Yes.
plane and do this thing. We run our own business. Like,
Yeah.
there's still
And
logistics.
and then there's like there's the weirdness that lots of people fall into, right? And like sales kind of ruins your monetary concept because it's always just, well, just go make more money, just go close more deals and you'll have more money and stuff. And so there's a slippery slope, right, within salespeople of like not managing your money very well because like you're always just kind of like talking yourself into and hoping that these other deals are going to close, right?
Right.
And people do not talk about this, but this is why like salespeople get stuck in certain roles in certain organizations because they're overspending their lifestyle,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
they can't go anywhere else. Like I know a guy, he hates his boss, hates his role, isn't happy, but makes like 125K a year.
Mhm.
And every time I talked to him, he was like, "Hey man, do you see any opportunities for me out there?" And I'm like, "Not at 125, bro.
Yeah.
Like if you want to take a pay cut, like I can get you another role that is going to have more mobility past this one, but like you're
Right.
here, you're gonna have to take down to like move into this kind of other band."
Yeah.
And he can't do it, which I understand. There's no judgment at all, but this happens to salespeople all the time, right? You get stranded on these little islands, and then you can't move because of clawbacks and commissions and chargebacks and all the stuff that happens. And money management is hard enough. I think it's harder for salespeople and entrepreneurs because there is this environment of like, well, if you really wanted more, you'll just go make it, and then you talk yourself into needing and wanting things you don't really need and overspend. It's a delicate balance.
It is for sure, and it definitely happens more than you'd think. Because I definitely can think of two people right now that are in positions like that, making more than that guy
Yeah.
as salespeople,
Mhm.
salaried. So
Yeah.
it's like, man, that's tough, man. I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah.
So
It's like uh people talk about this like with like oil field workers, right? Because they make all this cash and everything, right? And then they don't save the cash. They're spending it on stuff, and because it's all like cash, it's there at the disposal. It doesn't kind of hit the radar as like we need to be saving this. And then whenever like the Barnett Shale kind of like wrapped up in North Texas, there were all these people that had made the jump over to oil and gas and had no money saved, right? So
right,
then they're having to move to like South Dakota for like the next
right,
version of that
big
easy
scale.
money and
Yeah.
stuff, and
Mhm.
it like there's a version of that happens in sales and entrepreneurship and people don't talk about it hardly at all.
Yeah, for sure. It's uh yeah, exactly, Mike. So many cool tools to get, or if and in my case, so many Air Jordan 1s to get. It's
Yes,
just there's just
all
too
the
many.
Jordans.
Yes, all the Jordans, which
Yeah,
I got another pair. But see, I do budget, so I wait until I have money in the budget to do that.
there
That's
you
the
go.
difference.
I buy mine as a reward for certain revenue goals.
Correct, correct.
Hmm.
It's part of how you reward yourself, especially when you like them that much. You definitely need to build them into some sort of reward system because
Yes.
you'll work. even harder not to fail.
Yes, right. And there's so much of this idea of like, well, I worked really hard, right? And it's a sales job, so like I'm just going to reward myself with this thing, and that's the slippery slope
Oh yeah,
to, oh my, oh I've earned this is dangerous.
yeah,
Dangerous phrasing to say to yourself.
yes, definitely, definitely. Yeah, because otherwise, that's I mean, that's kind of is not the mantra of entrepreneurship. Is you're always working pretty hard. It's just that's why there's so much work life balance discussion. So
Yes.
that means every day you deserve something. If that's the case,
Some people treat it that way.
that's what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
if that's your mantra. I worked hard today. Well, that was yesterday and tomorrow.
Yeah.
So hope you don't run out of money.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's supposed to be happening every day.
All right. Yeah,
Weird.
exactly.
Oh man. How was your weekend?
It was good. I had a ranch weekend, so I always come
Oh,
back
nice.
feeling like the trees have talked to me or something, and calmer and wiser. It's a great place to be. So I didn't do a whole lot, which is part of the amazingness of it. I did
Yeah.
finish a book, and then what else? Went thrifting with my kids in East Texas, so that was kind of fun.
Okay. How I bet that was fun. What
Yeah,
what book did you
yeah, and
finish?
they're that age; they like it. What's that?
Yeah. What book did you finish?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I think it's in there. I'll have it with me. It's called Insight. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Mm-mm.
She's a female cultural psychologist or something like that. Once again, just amazing stuff. Just I'm running across a treasure trove of books this year in this Better Book Club because I can go and see what everyone else has read and marked and
Mm-hmm.
put their book reports on and stuff. And so like you, I mean, I'm looking for the ones that a lot of people have either 4 or 5 starred and
Yeah.
everyone's saying trade. So I've got about a list of about 7 or 8 books like that I found. And it's we talk about this. There's so many people that have talked about so many things now that it's almost impossible to pick up a book and not feel like you've read it
Yes.
before.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those, but much like the coaching book that we read, it had combined a lot of ideas around understanding self-awareness and
Mm-hmm.
then how other people perceive you, so internal and external.
Mm.
And it had put it into like one package. And she's just a really good writer and had some fantastic case studies
Damn.
about this
Okay.
stuff. So it was.
INSIG and
I'm gonna grab it
INCITE.
for you. I'm gonna grab it
Please. Yeah. Let me see this thing so that
for you.
way I don't buy the wrong one. This is how prepared we are, everybody. Jake is walking off camera to go get a book from another room.
When it comes to business books, I feel like we're getting to a spot where someone's going to write the book, the summary on all the things that everyone else wrote in like little fragments along the way,
Mm-hmm.
these little concepts. I'm just finding more and more of those books where it's the summary. It's the summary.
All right. It's on
Her
the
last name
list.
is Eurich, Tasha Eurich. But it's Insight, the surprising truth about how others see us and how we see ourselves and why the answers matter more than we think.
That sounds good. That sounds really good.
I crushed it. It was gone.
Yeah, it's not a small read.
Yeah, 250 pages. So
I made grape and raspberry jelly this weekend. Would love to share with y'all. I love jelly.
Oh yeah, me too. In fact, I got to dig into the stuff I got.
Yeah, Melissa was like asking me yesterday, has Jake used the pasta that Michelle got him? And I was like, would you leave it alone? He will if he hasn't yet. Good Lord. Put it down, lady. I had 2 books come in over the weekend. So I think I talked about this one, Play Bigger, right?
Yep, that's on my list. That's on that
I'm
list.
excited to read it. I got the hardback, which I'm excited about. I mean, after a book gets recommended that many times, I should probably just own the hardback.
Right.
I got this as well, the Tesla biography, the one that everyone talks about.
Wizard? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Wizard. Yeah.
I haven't heard that one. Okay.
Yeah, Cipher. Everyone, this is the one that everyone talks about. And then it came up in a lunch club call, so I got it, and then so that's cool. And then I finished a book yesterday. I finished Spin Selling, the audiobook by Rackham, and a phenomenal book if you're a sales nerd. It's a bit of a slog to get through. It's very, very dense. Like apparently they were the first group to really do any kind of scientific method approach to selling. And man, there's some good stuff. And just gonna spoil it for everyone. Bigger complex deals don't need features and benefits. They need questions and strategies that allow the person to self-discover. Essentially the stuff I've been talking about this whole time, but it's in a book again talking about it. So yeah, he did have some very cool stuff in there that is helpful that I can't wait to kind of dive into. So that some of my vetting when it comes to that stuff is I'll listen to the audio first, and then if it's something I'll continue to reference or go back to, then I'll buy it. So I'll be buying that one. I'll be buying that one so that way it can be on the shelf, because there's some really cool stuff about little differences that you don't really see. Like one of the things that I love is are you allowing your hold on, how does he phrase it? There's a difference between progressing in a sales call and continuing a sales call, right? So if you talk for someone for like 60 minutes and they say, hey, let's meet again next week, okay, that is just a continuance. Progression would be, okay, here's our next step.
Right.
Would it make sense to do this, right? So having stages allows you to know where those steps are and where they should be, and you can mindfully walk people through it. Because if you don't have your steps and you don't know what's normal, you don't know what's customary, you're going to fall victim to doing whatever they want you to do, which might not be conducive to your process. So
yeah,
some very cool stuff there. Some really great nuance about like different types of questions to use at different like points of the conversation. Some really cool stuff in there. So I'm excited about that.
What was it called again?
Spin Selling.
Oh, that's right. I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's like the big boy in the more I guess
like mainstream sales books that you hear about.
I mean, it's a fairly big one. It's one of the ones that has like actually made it into like curriculum for like entrepreneurial and like sales,
okay,
like college tracks and stuff like that. So
gotcha. Baseline selling is one I just read pretty recently, and it's similar because it's basically takes baseball and the whole metaphor of baseball.
Okay.
It uses a whole lot of it. Like it's very much a baseball book about selling and how you have to move bases, and each part is a stage, and each section of the stage takes a specific strategy.
Yep.
But most people never get to first base.
Nope.
And so everyone thinks they're on first, but most people aren't at first yet.
Yep.
So it was also a really nice for all the reasons you just said. Different things to say in different places so that you're always progressing to the next base, not just an ongoing conversation.
Yeah, that's why when Moneyball came out, I was so excited to see it, and it's one of my favorite movies because it takes the baseball analogy, right, and it talks like that is what I do for sales. Is this concept of the Moneyball, right? So, like if you can just continuously start conversations, right?
Yep.
Not all of them are going to make all the way through, but like forced action forces action, right? It pushes things through the process and leads to lags. Like don't track a lag. Like anything past the point that you have to take your hands off, you need to track it, but you have to understand that you're tracking it. You're not actually owning that number, right? And you're just trying to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, for sure. Me too, Mike. Those are rare, I find. I don't find many audiobooks that really at least put anything what I would call a supplement. Sometimes I'll have extra stuff, but it's not an actual helpful thing. So
what I find interesting as a strategy, right? If you write one of these books and you've got some illustrations, right? Some people do it as additions to the audiobook, right? So you can actually go into the Audible app, you can scroll through their figures and everything because they've uploaded them that way. Some people actually say, hey, go to this page over here on my website and you can download the stuff there.
Yeah.
I'm very curious as to which one provides better outcomes.
Yeah, it's because that's such an interesting thing, because if you are an audiobook person and you're in Audible a lot, it's not as big a leap, right? To just go to their page, their author page. But I can't tell you the last time I've been to an author page on Audible.
I never open the tooltips, right? Because if it's a book that I'm enjoying, I like I, if I feel like I need to look at the tooltips, I've already made the decision that if the book is good enough, I'm going to buy it so that way I can have it for reference on my shelf
Yep.
back here,
Yep.
right? So like I'm like, okay, you're talking in figures. You keep referencing these figures. This stuff had better be good. And if it's good, like that is just kind of like how I'm going through the process as I'm listening to it in my head, right?
Mhm.
Whereas like Profit First, he sends everyone to like
Yeah.
all the resources are in one area of my website. So finish like, and I like that better, right?
I do
Because then
too.
I can kind of work through, and then there's a direction to go to after the fact, which is nice.
Yes, agreed. I totally agree. And plus, it's, I mean, if especially if you're selling your book, not just on Amazon, but you also have it
Hmm.
like on your website to buy, and you have links and
Yes.
stuff, it makes complete sense to to put everything there for SEO and for just for
Yes.
convenience, honestly. And I
Absolutely.
most of the time, if I'm reading a book and there's a supplement, and then it tells me I can go get it on their website, that excites me because I'm gonna go find out more about the author too.
Exactly.
See
Yeah.
their other content on social media, and like, because you don't always, like you and I, the way we pick books don't a lot of times have anything to do with seeing them on social media or anything. It's
Oh, yeah.
so we work backwards into that,
Hmm.
which is cool. It's like discovering someone new. It's cool.
Yeah. Like being the data driven marketer or whatever, I think it makes more sense to push it to your website, because
Yeah.
then if they opt in to get all the stuff that comes along with the book, you can then do some meaningful pushes around like, hey, if you like the book, would you leave us a review, which Amazon doesn't allow you to do,
Yep.
so
Yep.
you don't get any of the data that they're collecting on your behalf, which kind of means that you need to build something that allows you to collect the data you need for like ongoing iteration.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Exactly. And you're right, Mike. Donald Miller has definitely taken this approach.
Yeah, he's
And
definitely on the content train for sure.
yeah, he does put everything on his websites, and he makes it really easy to find stuff. So yeah, he's a great example of how to market a book, because it's all over social media, it's all over all the places. He guest podcasts, he writes about it. Hard to miss, which is good if you want
Yes,
people to buy your books.
agreed.
So that's good. That's good. Cool, man. Well, it's another week. What's your
Yeah.
plan for this week? You got something specific in mind that that you're focused on?
Um, this week is lots of like project movement, right? Because
Okay.
we're launching the podcast, so I need to make some movement in there as far as the build out. Like all the little things that go along with launching a podcast. Like all that stuff starts this week. So I have clarity on the direction. All that stuff is good. Now it's time to start building. So that's going to be what the majority of this week is. We get an opportunity to go interview some people for like one of the projects that we're working on. So we're going to go interview them, learn their backstories, so that way we can redo their about page. Right. This is one of the clients that we actually do marketing work for, which doesn't happen a whole lot. So we're taking it very slow, doing it the right way, and we want to go improve their connection to the why and stuff like that. So we're going to be interviewing the whole staff. All the providers will then be featured on the about pages for the stuff. So working on that this week as well. And really, that's kind of it. Like kind of a regular week. Like last week I got sick. The week before we had the state fair. The week before that. So like I just had all these weeks where I've had just like one thing, that's been kind of taking up bandwidth. This is the first week in a while that just feels like a regular week, which I'm excited about. Super stoked about the video, man. Like it doesn't, when I watch it, it feels too good for me to have been part of it, if that makes sense. Right. And that's not in like a self-deprecating way of like, woe is me, I'm not any good at what I do. It just looks that good that I'm like, holy crap. Like I'm part of that. Like that this happened because I did the thing, And
Mhm.
it was so funny because like when I'm talking with Dan and I was showing it with him on Saturday, he was like, "Man, first of all, this should just be part of your business." Like, and I'm like, "Thank you. I'm kind of moving in that direction, around this idea that hey, if there's a conference you would like some coverage at, but you can't go, you can send me. I'll collect content and blah 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 blah." I think that could be a cool thing to do occasionally, but it looks so freaking good that I'm like, right. And so Dan was like, man, the hard part is already done. And I'm like, no, or no. Yeah. I'm like, no, now is the hard part. Like making sure that like this gets the volume that it should because of all these people that are part of it and stuff like that. Like not that it's owed to me, but because these people were nice enough to give me their time.
Right. Yeah. To
So
make it worth their time and feature them, and so people can see what's going on. And yeah, for
yes.
sure. You want people to see the outcome, which is
Yes.
beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not about my ego or anything else like that. I just think that these are some really cool interviews and we did a good job of like putting it together.
That's awesome. Cool. Well,
Yeah.
as soon as I see a link, I'll be excited to watch it.
I thought I gave you the link. My bad, my friend. I'll shoot it to you today.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Oh.
But I'm
I
looking
might
forward.
not have because like I was just so excited when I saw it and then I saw how long it was and I was like, "Oh no, this is way too long."
You definitely told me it
So,
was long. You were like, this
yes.
thing is 2 hours. Oh, you said this is 2 hours long. What should I do with it?
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Cool.
Standard John. Hey,
That's right.
I built this thing. What do I do
I
with it
built
now?
this monster.
I sent a message to these two guys that do they're actually part of the interview series, but they're both like big video people, Will Aiken
Mhm.
and Nick Capozzi. And Nick was like, or no, I'm sorry, Will was like, dude, this is so good. Don't release a 2 hour
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Break this thing up, right?
Yeah.
So now we get to go through the process of breaking it all up,
Yeah. You've got
which
2 years of YouTube Shorts on your hands.
pretty that's pretty much what Dan told me. He goes, you realize that this is like a year's worth of content, right? And I'm like, no, it's one phenomenal piece of content. And he goes, no, it's like a year's worth of content.
That's
And I'm
right.
like, and I like I just don't get it,
That's
yeah,
today's spot. I mean, that's today's presentation. That's how people want
so
it.
weird
So,
to me, man. Like, I don't know.
yep. Yep. Them Utes. Don't know what they're missing.
Them whippersnappers with their TikToks.
TikToks. Oh no, I can see my daughter like shaking her head. Oh,
Yes, exactly.
TikToks.
That's half of the goal, right? To make the
Absolutely.
kids shake their heads.
Absolutely.
Old
Yes.
guys.
Oh, don't ever say that again,
Yeah.
Dad.
So what do you have this week?
I am trying out a new tool because calendaring is a big kind of logistical thing I have to deal with, and
Yeah.
so I'm working through a brand new app this week. So we'll see how that goes.
Which
Um,
one are you using?
Motion. It's called Motion app. Actually,
Motion.
yeah, I sent you the link last night,
Okay.
so you
And
can check.
is this like a calendar alternative or is it a scheduling tool?
Yes, it's
Oh,
actually it can replace ClickUp, Calendly, um, and plus the calendar's at the center. But it's a database-driven thing. So this guy, so far, looks like he knows what he's doing.
I'm gonna take issue with the
Before you
idea.
even look at it, I love
Well,
it.
okay, but hold on, bear with me for a second, right?
Yep.
ClickUp and Calendly, right?
Mhm.
You're gonna replace both of these things. The tools do very different functionality, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
at the end of the
There's
day.
different sections of this tool. It's not like a hey, here's
Okay.
a shiny thing. There's like areas of the tool that
Okay.
connect on the back
Interesting.
end. Yeah.
Okay. I will rein my judgment in a little bit before it gets completely out of hand.
I'm looking to solve a use case that it solves very
Interesting.
specifically, which is we
Okay.
put our priorities in ClickUp at work, and then we have all these additional tasks we're supposed to do, right? And
Okay.
so
In
it will
in
help you
that in that
prioritize that
mode,
on your calendar.
I dig that, right? If you can put if there's a way of connecting your blocking and tackling the little bitty
Yeah,
BS tasks that we
yeah,
have to do endlessly as entrepreneurs and salespeople, if
yes,
it'll do that and spit those tasks out into like pre-programmed times and stuff,
yes.
that is rad. I'm
That's what
down
it's
for that.
that's what it's doing. It's an
Huh.
AI. So we'll just see how eloquent it is. That's really the question because it does it. I've tried it. I've tested it last night,
Mhm.
but we'll see how actually easy it is from like a connecting the dots regularly or hey
Mhm.
crap I got to add this sort of thing.
Yeah.
We'll just see, we'll see how it goes, but it's
Okay.
promising, but
Mhm.
I wouldn't promise anything yet.
I
So yeah,
mean,
that's it. I mean that's because that's the big part of it, is because I have my normal project work, I've got my normal client work, nothing super out of character this week, so this is the thing that's going to be exciting.
So
Figure this
to
out.
that end,
Mhm.
right? I've been trying to use ClickUp for all my stuff, right? So my daily documentation, all of my tasks and everything are in
Mhm.
there. It is just bulky enough that I don't have the ability to go in there, quickly add a task and get out of there. I get caught in system crap, right? Like discomfort is really, I think, what it
Right.
comes down to, right?
Right.
So the universal inbox is such an important idea, right? Getting things done, get it out of your head, put it into some place so you can move on with the day. I'm
Yep.
going back to workflowy for that ability of just being
Okay.
able to inbox and move on.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to have to do is move those inboxes over to ClickUp, periodically, because if they're work related and project related, then other people on my team need to see them. But it's got to be that lightweight, or else I'll start to avoid it, and then things start to
Yeah.
kind of fall apart. So I'm moving back into that,
Cool.
and I'm excited about it because I love that tool. It just doesn't collaborate with others very well. So
How spoiled are we that we're the spot
super
where we can
spoiled.
go? That is just too heavy. Sorry, I'm going to move to another tool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. That's where we're
Well,
at. Tech.
I think the other thing, right, is that people are listening to this and like, oh my God, these guys are so spoiled. Well, here's the thing: we know what we need,
Yeah.
right? Like, and as much as I love a big complex system that is completely automated and everything takes care of itself from one push of the domino, that takes a long time to build, like a super
You
long
can.
time to build.
Definitely
And
can.
the greatest system that you can't even turn and face is useless versus the one that does
For
like
sure.
40%, but you can turn and face it and do it regularly. Like which one of these like situations you want to be in. So while we are spoiled, we're both hyper aware of what it takes for us to work well. And
Yep.
I think that's the other part of it.
Yep. My favorite phrase with clients these days, I really do think, is the best system is the one you'll use. 'Cause
Yes.
they're always asking me about stuff. I'm like, well, what do you use? Oh, okay, well, the best one's the one you use. You don't need to
Yep.
worry. If you can find another one, great. But if you don't use it, doesn't matter.
Yes, exactly right. That's it, how I feel about it at this stage. Like Dan and I were playing with these. I got these the other day. These Bluetooth lavalier mics because I saw
Mhm.
someone using them and I was like, oh my God, that's so great. So these are like super tiny and small and
Yep.
they just clip on. But the
Right.
audio feed, because it's Bluetooth, you lose a little bit of sound quality,
Right.
is not fantastic. And so now it's like, do I use these and then provide something that's a little bit harder to edit? Do I continue to use the one with the wired one and my life's a little bit harder, but the audio, like,
Yeah.
it's so much more about like making sure that the other people on your team are set up for success, right? Because like
Right.
if my video
Oh, yeah.
guy
Audio.
doesn't have to touch the audio at all,
Yeah.
saves him time, that saves me money in the long run, so there's little bitty advantages that compound interest, right? If you
That's why
double
I'm
a
still
penny every
rocking
day.
that's why I'm still rocking a wired lapel.
Yeah,
Because
for
I've
real.
not seen a really great Bluetooth lapel mic.
Yeah.
Maybe they exist. I don't know, but
I mean, I'm sure if you spend enough money, there's good ones out there, but
Yeah.
at what extent, right? So Dan and I were talking about if I do more of the conference interview thing, like how to improve that setup, right? So I might be looking at getting like a Zoom field controller so I can just have two wired
Mhm.
lav mics in there,
Yep.
and so that way, just a little bitty improvements along the way, right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yep.
What do you got today other than trying out the new tech, or this week? Excuse me.
Yeah. I mean, nothing specifically to bring up. I don't think I've got a weekly blog now for
Ooh.
the Impact Plus. Our huge library. We have a
Mhm.
sales chapter, marketing chapter, executive chapters, things like that. So as a coach, all the coaches are supposed to write for it to increase engagement and do stuff like that. So I've written 3 so far, and I was just kind of getting my hands wet, just kind of see what would stick. And so now it's officially started this week. So I will be writing something. We'll see what happens. I
Nice.
don't know what. I think my approach has been I'm going to take some sort of client interaction I have and turn it into a blog every week. That way I'm not specifically searching for content going, what should I write about this week?
Yeah.
And let's start that way and see how that goes.
That's That's kind of what I'm looking to do with the newsletter, right? Take something that comes from like a coaching call, working with a team, working with my team, or something else like this, and then talking about it. And okay, this is what happened. This is how it relates to like a sales kind of
Right.
standardization kind of thing,
Right.
and then making that about what the newsletter is going to be. Um, with a blog, though, I already feel, if I was you, I would already feel a little bit of pressure about having to write within a lane, having to do it kind of in perpetuity, and not potentially getting to have the full control over that lane. Do you feel that at all?
Not yet. Not yet. Just because I haven't had to do it yet.
That's fair.
You know, I'm not. I'm just starting, so it's kind of exciting because I get to take experiences and turning it into something short and useful for people that weren't there. It's kind of how I'm looking at it. So as a challenge.
Yeah, I
Um,
like that.
yeah, but the control part, like I've kind of given that obviously away because I'm inside of an organization now,
Yeah.
and so I'm writing for their, you know, their tools
Mhm.
at the moment. So the bigger question is how do I repurpose it for like my LinkedIn page or like my personal page or something like that, right? So that I'll can creating content that's working more than one place for me. That's kind of how I want to figure it out because it's all stuff that would be useful in my mind to go on my own page as well. But we'll see. I haven't really thought much about it yet.
So, random question. How concerned, how do I ask this the right way? How important is it that you repurpose it onto your LinkedIn when you're writing it for an organization that you're working for? Like, I think that would be a nice to have, but I kind of feel like if they have this kind of cadence around, hey, you guys must write, so that way it creates engagement and
Mhm,
consistency,
mhm.
that it's kind of on them to handle some of the distribution stuff, right?
Well, they do to the impact channels, but I just meant my personal LinkedIn page, like to continue to create content and activity on my own personal
Okay.
brand. And I'm thinking repurposing what I'm writing for them because everything I'm writing is conceptual around a, you know, a principle that we're discussing and coaching with clients. So it's not like I'm writing specifically about their stuff, like they ask you answer.
Yeah. Okay.
At least that's not the plan.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, because I just don't want
Interesting.
my LinkedIn page to go like quiet just because I
Oh
have a
yeah.
job,
No, for
you
real.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, that's very interesting.
yeah,
Hmm.
because I don't want to write twice a week. I don't want to be tethered to writing twice a week. If I, you know, because I have a workload that's heavy and like, oh, I gotta, because my own page is going to be the one that suffers. It's going to be the last right now, right? So if I repurpose, that makes it a whole easier to make sure that it continues to go up and there's activity. And then if I do want to get creative, I can write something specifically different for my own personal page.
Does it? Uh, this is such a weird statement, but do you get? How do we say this the right way? Are you repurposing as you, or are you repurposing as like, hey, this is the work that I'm doing now. Go check out Impact, because like I feel like one is just
Oh,
like a
yeah.
reshare, and the other one requires a little bit of strategic thinking and tie-in.
Well, I'm not writing as Impact over on
Mhm.
Impact. I'm writing as me. So
Okay.
it's not like I'm having to like rework the language to take the impact part out, right?
Hmm.
Um, but that's where I'm stuck. Is I don't want to just do a reshare necessarily.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm kind of thinking about is there anything that's so wrong with that? Because the writing I'm doing inside the I'm Impact library, you have to be
Hmm.
a part of the you have to sign up and have it. It's everyone who's already doing they ask you answer. So it's a group of people that's exclusive, if you will, and that's they're
Hmm.
all in a community together talking about the same stuff. So if I just reshare over on my own page, there's a 99.9% chance that those people will never see it over on my LinkedIn page. So it'll look like original content,
Hmm.
you know?
I do. Yeah. That's interesting.
So I haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah. Okay, I have a slightly different question, right?
Okay.
And we can keep this super quick because we're kind of over time. I had this idea, right? And this is still an idea of bringing someone on to help me write this newsletter, right? And I thought it would be cool for for them to like own the newsletter, to come on and say, hey, like I'm writing for Adaptive Growth, this is the newsletter kind of thing. Because when you look at certain brands, it's very clear that someone is writing their takes for a brand, like
Yeah.
Rand Fishkin, right? He's doing Spark Toro now. He works with this woman named Amanda Natividad, who's a big person on Twitter and stuff like this, and she writes a newsletter for Spark Toro, but it's in her voice, and it's very clear that it's her voice, her
Yeah.
takes, and everything else like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love this, right? Because it removes some of the pressure of it's got to be within a certain voice, which requires a little bit more editing, a little bit more tightening, a little bit more standard creation, and stuff like that. And so I was trying to explain this idea to Melissa and the person that we're talking to about writing the newsletter, and they're both very much like, no, we're going to write this as you, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think Impact is doing what you're saying you like. They're giving us the reins to write in our own voice about impact principles that we're seeing with our clients each week. So I agree with you for several reasons. First off is they're going to think of things that you would never think of, which is a good thing.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then secondly, it's going to make your organization look bigger. It's not just John. Like there's other people here doing work who know the concepts, who care, who are working on your behalf, and then I feel like I need a 3 because you always need a 3, right? 1, 2, 3.
I think the third is just the ability to get it out consistently at a high level of quality, right? So
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
like
I could see someone arguing with you going, "Oh, I can get it out as your voice. Doesn't matter," But
yeah,
but yeah, you're hiring someone else. Yes.
Yeah,
That's
like
agreed.
I would eventually like this to be how do I say this the right way? Like I would like it to be like a revenue generating email, because we can offer different things in that email once it's like up and running and stuff like that. And I really feel like if someone comes in, writes it in their voice, they're going to be a lot more accountable to like, hey, let's grow this thing, let's hit metrics and all that other stuff,
Okay, number
And
3. It can help grow their personal brand because their name's on it.
yes,
Right.
that's a really solid number 3. That's really good. Okay, so like I wasn't completely off in John Land trying to make things needlessly hard just because it might make more sense in the long term. Okay,
No,
that's helpful to know.
No, that's what 2-hour videos are for.
But dude, it's so good. No one's gonna watch it.
This cup of coffee is so amazing. You have to wait 2 hours though for it to be ready. Okay, but it's so good. It'll be worth it. Like they didn't even get through the sentence of you saying that. Coffee 2 hours.
Yeah. It's like that one episode of The Office with the dinner party, and she's like, well, in Spain they don't eat until midnight. And she's just like, are we gonna wait until midnight?
Yes. Best episode ever.
So awkward.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I thank you for that, because that has been kind of like cranking in my head, because I see these other versions of this, but Melissa was like, this doesn't make any sense, right? You're now the face of this thing, right? Because with the new version of the site, my photo is up and out there and all that other stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's not just me. And I'm not trying to build it so that way it is all me. Like I'm not trying to do like a version of Zig Ziglar where like I would love to be like the head coach that no one even knows about, because like I've got a team of like other people who are way better than I am at the things that they do, and they're put forward, and I'm just able to kind of think and work on the end level product, which is Sherpa. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. I don't think you should disappear from writing altogether. I think you should show up on the newsletter.
Yeah.
Because you're a good writer and you have a lot to say. But yes, it shouldn't be driven by you necessarily.
Okay, cool.
I don't think
we're on the same page there.
Well, I got to run on this one.
Yes, go do your thing.
Yep. But Mike, Tao, thanks for hanging in there today, buddy.
Michelle,
good to see you, of course, as always. Anything today?
And we have a lurker. There's 3 people watching us
Yes.
right now. Is
Yes.
what the system says. It could be lying. This all could just
Yes.
be like the Matrix, and we're all being
Yes.
lied to right here. But we're doing it for you, Mr. Lurker. Hang
That's
out.
it. It's for
Yeah.
you.
Or Mrs. Lurker. No
That's true.
judgment.
That's true. Could
All
be whoever.
lurkers are welcome.
Yes, all lurkers are good lurkers.
Yeah, I don't really think I need a whole lot of accountability this week. We need to get a guest for Friday because it's been a little while since we've had a guest. So I'm going to work on that today and
Yes.
tomorrow, so that way we can do some promotion before Friday. But yeah, I'll work on
Yes,
that
for sure. Okay, cool. Well, we'll be back Friday in that case.
for Friday.
We'll be
Hopefully
back
with a
Friday.
guest. If someone
Yes.
says yes, guys, we'll have a guest on Friday.
Yes, high quality control here.
Yes, show them the value. Don't stop until they block you. Right? I'll go
right.
get us a ghost.
That's right. Please, 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 please.
I did reach out to someone and was like, "Hey, do you want to come on the show?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, man, that'll be awesome. Like, when is it?" And I told them the time, and they're like, "Oh no, that's way too early."
NAW.
And I was like,
Nah.
"Okay, totally fine."
Yeah.
So we have had a couple of people shut us down, but most people are excited to come hang out with us. So
That's
hopefully
right. We
it
just
won't.
keep it Central or East Coast. I think up our odds.
Yes, yeah. I was hitting people up in Cali and Arizona and stuff like that. So
Yeah, for sure.
that's gonna be a struggle.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, man.
Okay.
All right, go enjoy your day. Get a
Same.
bunch of stuff done. I'm in planning mode today, so I have a little bit of blocking and tackling to do this morning, and then just kind of thinking long-term thoughts.
Sounds good. Sounds fun, actually. But I'm going to do a little more in the weeds than that. So
Yes, get in there with a
All right,
weed
man.
whacker.
Okay. I'll talk to you later. See you guys.
All right, man. See ya.
Bye.